right. So we have Harry from Richmond, BC. Let's see by everybody that's here. Just I mean, obviously you guys see us, but let's in chat go ahead and tell us where you're connecting from, so we actually have a little bit of an idea of where everybody is. So Harry is in Richmond, BC. I am in Oakville, Ontario. Crystal is in Kelowna, and Idana and Adnan are out in Bosnia. All
Stars.
right. Woodstock from Nicole. We got Elena from Vaughan. Tony from Burlington. Oh, Tony Harvey. Yes, of course. I remember. I remember. I remember. Good to have you here. Um,
Tony's
so
cool.
we've got primarily BC and Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Ottawa in town as well from Rakan. So good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Um, so I'd love to be able to do the meeting here in a little bit of a not so typical fashion, in the sense like we don't have a presentation set up for people that we're going to go through, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk about in general what lead generation is like, what PPC is like, what you can expect from a cost per lead perspective, what you can expect from a cost per deal perspective, and truthfully, I think, because the room isn't really that big. We don't have, hundreds of people in here. We've got 18 so far. I think we can maybe even cater to the questions that you guys actually have. Like, what are some of the questions that you guys have? What are some of the concerns that you have? What are, in general, what's on your mind? And we'll help cater to those specific topics. And then until we have some questions, I will start talking and keep bringing out information as much as possible. As far as the recording, will it be recorded? Yes, I believe. Crystal, right?
Yes, we
Yeah.
are recording. We are recording. And then for all of you that aren't familiar with who's on the panel today, we have Adnan, who is our PPC performance manager, and then Idana, who is our Google PPC client success manager, as well as Ada, of course. So these are typically the individuals that when you have any questions related to your Google campaigns, they're the ones that are addressing and assisting with your setup and everything to do Google related.
Perfect. Yeah, that's actually a great point. Thank you for the intro, Crystal. I always forget to do those. It's like I just jump right into it. It's like, oh crap.
Who are these people and why are they on here?
Absolutely. So I love this one point from Elena, because it's going to be good to dive into that to understand, quality, many waste of time leads. So both from Elena. So Elena, let me ask you this actually. How long have you been doing internet lead generation for? So we can have a little bit of an understanding for everybody's sake to understand quality, quantity from the start. So from the start means from 20 years ago? Five years ago. Okay, perfect. Great. So what's this otter thing? I'm having to take notes this meeting. Okay, so we got an otter bot in here. Okay. So it's great when we have great leads coming in. And great leads, Google will never be able to say, hey, I want to make sure that I'm going to only advertise to people that are ready to buy a home right away today. And I'm going to go out and show those homes to people immediately. So when it comes to doing PPC, you're advertising to people that are searching on Google for homes for sale in whatever area you're offering it. So there's a good thing and a bad thing there. The good thing is that most of these leads you're catching at an early stage before they actually are talking to a realtor and speaking to a realtor, because they're the ones sending listings to them. So you're catching them at a stage you have the ability to work with them. Having said that, you are going to have a fake percentage. Like, do we have stats, Crystal, currently on how many leads that come in are actually completely fake?
I don't think so. We can definitely, I don't know if we're able to, we'd have to pull across all systems, but
Yeah.
generally speaking, if we're jumping into somebody's account for training purposes and say out of every 10 leads, maybe one is completely fake. And that's being generous with that. So it's, there's
So 10% in
something,
your case.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I
yeah.
would even venture to assume that you're going to have, from a complete fake perspective, you're probably going to go even about 25%,
Mhm,
from just in general. Like even if you look at it from a general perspective, about 25% of the leads are going to come in completely fake.
mhm,
Now, quality, when it comes to specifically diving into quality, like what would I consider a quality lead? And considering that what you're paying for a lead, right? So what is it you're paying Google for one of these leads? Adnan, let's talk about the general average cost per lead. How much do these leads cost on average?
Yeah, sure thing. So I mean, like
And
in Ontario, buyer leads are about $17 per lead. In BC and Alberta, it's lower, anywhere between $9 to $12.
okay,
Rental leads are still cheap, about $2, $3 anywhere. And seller leads in Ontario, about $30 to $50 per lead, depending on the area. And in
perfect.
BC, about 25 to 35.
Okay, so let's say that general, 17, let's say $17 per lead. If you're expecting to get quality for $17 per lead, you're never going to be able to achieve getting quality for $17 per lead, right? So you gotta average it out from an average perspective. If you look at it from a cost per transaction perspective, like what is it costing an agent to actually, in the number of leads that you get, how much is it costing you to do one transaction, right? Um, it's when we look at it and sum it down, like we don't have access directly to the actual number of transactions that agents do, but from those that share with us, from those that we know they're sharing with us fairly frequently, that's also going to be a number that's going to suck a little bit, because these people have been doing internet lead generation for a long time, and typically when they do internet lead generation, when they're successful, they keep reinvesting back into that and getting more and more and more leads. So their numbers are going to be a little bit better than most, because they've been doing it for a very long time and they're fairly successful at it. So having said that, the cost per transaction will range from about $800 per transaction, and it can go up. It can go up to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. So if we look at it, let's say that your cost per your transaction, meaning that how many leads you need to go through to actually get one successful transaction. Let's even say that it's 2,500, and divide that by 17. That's about 147 leads that you're going to have to go through to get that one transaction, right? That's kind of a way you can look at it. But having said that part as well, there is one thing that you could do to actually improve the quality of the leads that you're coming in. So we've been, trying to get people to use the CRM system for as long as possible. But I'm not sure if most of you knew this or didn't know this, but when you update your pipelines of your CRM system, we feed that information back to Google based on what you updated, so that we tell it, hey, we want you to target more leads like this, so that we would actually get a better lead. So for example, when you set a lead that you talked to the lead, or you set a lead that you went to a showing with them, we feed that information back to Google. The only downside with that information is that Google doesn't allow you to send this information past, how many months is it? 6 months, Adnan?
Yeah, about 6 months.
6 months, or is it 3 months? Can you actually double check that?
Six.
Because
I think we first one went like towards the end of December, so it's been about 6 months.
well, no, I mean, how long? So, for example, let's say I get a lead today, and then I take that
90
lead for a
days.
show. 90
90
days.
days.
Okay, so that's 3 months, right? So let's make sure you guys understand that within 90 days, we want you to, as much as you possibly can, update the CRM system with a pipeline of where you're at with that lead. So that means if you made contact with them, if this is a good lead, you should be setting the pipeline of that lead to warm lead. Because again, what we're doing within that 90 days, we have the ability to send data back to Google through what's called an offline conversion, to tell Google, hey, out of all these 147 leads that we got, here's 15 or whatever it is that are much better quality than the other ones. So when you're doing my campaign, we want you to target more people like that. Let's make sure that everybody understands that part, just to make sure. Actually, let me, before we do that, how many out of the people here, how many people are our clients? So you're an Agent Locator client. If you want to just in chat, raise your hand or just say yes, me. I want to just get a sense of how many are our clients. Perfect. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It should be the majority of them.
Majority. Yeah, I'm not sure if we emailed
Yeah.
like the group that aren't our clients. Okay.
Yeah.
So in your CRM system, how many of you are currently not updating your pipeline based on what happens with leads? How many are not actually doing that right now? Not updating. Okay. So one or two or three. I'm only updating when I make notes. Okay. Not as often. This is definitely a reason why just started back in. Okay. Always perfect. So this is definitely a reason why you should be updating your pipelines. And I mean, number one, it's great that you're updating based on what you're doing with the system, because you should be using a CRM system to make it easier for you. And you should be updating it all the time. And if you're not, this is a reason kind of to push you to do it, because you'll effectively get better quality leads from Google when you do that. Now, we're not going to be able to get, immediately better quality leads. It takes a while for the campaign to actually get that data, because number one, knowing, how many of these leads within the first 90 days are we going to keep updating into that pipeline? And again, we only have 90 days. And what's the best quality of the lead is the one that we sold, but you're definitely, it's going to be hard for you to sell it within 90 days, because even if you sell it even if you get a great qualified lead, the chances of you selling it within 90 days are probably not so high. Which also kind of reminds me, Adnan, I think what we should do, because what we currently do with our pipelines is, and how Google Ads works is, when we have different pipelines that happen, we send to Google what is the value of that pipeline to us. So how Google really works is they want you to tell them how much money are you making from a specific lead. And that's how you define the quality of a lead. So to Google, it's like, so what we do there is, like, when you set the lead to made contact, we say we got an extra $10. When you set the lead to warm, we say we got an extra $50. When you set the lead to sold, we give a high value at that point. But what sucks there is that if you're not going to sell most of your leads within 90 days for sure. But what sucks is we miss that chance, Adnan. I think what we should do is we should actually create a pipeline in there that we set, and we tell them, hey, when you have a really good lead and you know what those leads are, you should set it to that pipeline, so that or maybe even a tag, so that we send Google that value immediately to say, hey, this is a marker of a great lead, and we should tell Google that this is a high value lead.
Yeah, 100%. I actually have a client that, like, every week she sends me an email and she tells me, hey, those 2 leads were awesome. I converted this one, or things like that. And then I upload, with the highest possible value.
Right. So Elena here, which is a favorite lead. That might be actually a good, like, give it a heart, give it something, so that we can then also pass that information back to Google. So I think that's something that, now that I think about, the process that we take, what we can do to improve that as well, would be an interesting thing for sure.
And there'll be cleanest data possible, like, literally a sales qualified lead, something that we know 100% it's a good lead.
Right. Because again, that's what we're sending to Google. That's the kind of those markers that we send back to Google, because the only marker we currently have had to Google was like when a lead gets generated. So for example, when we set up these campaigns for you guys, we're advertising for people that are looking for homes for sale in any given area with, many different types of keywords. And out of typically out of 100 people that go to your website, typically only 14 will actually end up registering. So when you look at the actual conversion rate, 14% conversion rate is kind of where we're hitting. So that means out of 100 people that have come to your website, 14 end up converting. And we tell Google, hey, out of these 100 people that have come, 14 have actually converted. But then after that, those 14, we keep sending Google back more information about of those 14, which ones are better or not. Okay. We really only had one question from the people, so maybe we could Adnan and Idana, you guys have, you talk to most agents about PPC. What is the number one thing that comes up from the questions that they have? Like, what's the maybe concern or anything that they may want to know?
Yeah, well, thank you everybody for joining us today. And I'm super happy to actually see many of you that I have been in touch with, like Elena, like Tony Harvey. So yeah, thank you guys. And what I would like to bring up in most of the cases is the lead quality as the main concern that comes through the tickets. And as Ado has been sharing, the Google online lead generation is all about the quantity. The more leads we get, the better chances we have to find those good ones. And now when we upload the data back to Google, letting Google know what we are looking after, that's one way that we have been testing out lately to help you guys to generate better quality leads. Another thing I would like to address today is that we have a lot of eager clients, especially new agents. When they join us, they try it out for a couple of weeks and they're like, this is not working, let's change the target area. That's the first thing that usually our clients say. And I would like to address that today, because in order to see if something is really working for you, you should target one area for at least 6 months, because we know for a fact that on an average, it takes about 6 months to convert an online buyer lead. And many of you would like to change the area because, oh, it's not working, and you don't give it enough of time to actually find out if this is good or not, because Google needs data. We need to feed the data back to Google. We need to teach the algorithm what we want. So changing the target area is not going to resolve our issues. And on the other hand, what it's going to do is reset us back where Google needs to learn about the new target area that we have. So we're kind of going back to a few steps back where we have to relearn, or algorithm has to relearn about the new target area. So patience is very important with the online lead generation. It's not happening fast. And I always say to our agents, this is a marathon race and not a sprint. It's not happening within the first couple of weeks or months. So that's one thing. I don't know, Adnan, if you have anything you would like to add as
That's
the
a
main. Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good point, and maybe I want to just elaborate a bit more on the,
Of
just
course.
to have that conversation back and forth about the actual campaign needing time for it to actually, first and foremost, get the data that it needs to be able to get the leads. Secondly, it's also, if you guys Google for any keyword out there that's real estate related, there's ads that are already there. Right? There's ads that are already there. So it's like we're trying to fit your ads into the positions. And the way that Google works when it comes to actually taking what ad are they're going to show is they, number one, look at, okay, what's the inventory of advertisers we have for this keyword? For those of you that are maybe unaware of how Google displays those ads, let's dive into the technicalities just for a second. And that is, first and foremost, I do a search for homes for sale in Oakville. What Google does at that point in split milliseconds is it goes into its inventory of all of the advertisers that they have that are willing to advertise for homes for sale in Oakville. Then what it does is it looks at, okay, from those advertisers that are there, who has the best quality of the actual website? So now, what is the quality of the website? What does Google care about? Does anybody know what Google cares about? Just out of curiosity? From the clients. Google cares, and I like to answer this question by asking everybody, why do we use Google? We use Google because we find what we're looking for, right? It's not about keywords. It has nothing to do with keywords. Keywords, everybody's saying, hey, I want to advertise for the keyword. But what Google cares about is showing a website that the person is actually going to find what they're looking for, right? So if I'm searching for homes for sale in Oakville, they're looking for a website that retains most of the people on the website by showing them what they're looking for, right? So that's number one to Google. It's not even the cost per click. It's not even me saying, hey, I'm willing to pay $5 per click to show my ad. But if my quality of the website is low, Google doesn't give a crap about how much you're willing to pay. They're always going to show a website that has a higher quality score. So that's number one. Number two is cost per click, to say, out of all these people that are good advertisers that we know when we send people to them for this keyword, we know that people are staying and looking at the actual listings and finding what they want. Now, what is somebody willing to pay per click? That's the second part. So what's important with what Idana is saying here is Google is learning. Google goes through a learning phase by showing your website, because if I'm advertising for homes for sale in Oakville for the very first time, Google doesn't have an idea of how well your website works with this traffic. They're taking a chance by showing your ad to people to see if they're going to stay on your website or not. So if you're changing that area constantly, that means you're going through that relearning process every single time, right? So I hope I explained that in a way that it will make sense. Yeah, okay. So Idana, you wanted to ask Adnan as well. So Adnan, was there anything else that from your side, when you talk to agents, what are some of the things that come up in pain points and good things and everything else?
Well, I mean, honestly, I told you already. Lately, I've been getting more and more questions about lead quality, and that was actually one of the main things that I wanted to discuss. And I mean, we already did a pretty good job by explaining what we're doing and what we're trying to do to improve the lead quality. But one thing I wanted to touch on, I'm noticing a couple of people saying, "Hey, those are fake leads," but guys, those are actually not fake leads. So with Google Ads, you actually have a few different channels that you can use to display those ads or generate traffic. Like you have Google.com, which is Google proper. You have something called Google Search Network and Google Display Network. Google Display Network is basically a bunch of websites that are not Google, but they work with Google, right? When you use this specific channel, basically you are inviting bot traffic or fake traffic. And this is something that we exclude by default. So I've had a lot of clients reaching out to us, hey, I'm getting fake leads. Are you guys using Display Network? No, we're not. We're actually excluded Display Network by default. So basically, Google has amazing systems that catch fake traffic. And there's something even called invalid click, which you can see in your ads report. So if a bot clicked on your ad, or someone just clicked and bounced up immediately, or someone trying to, exhaust your budget, maliciously, Google has great system catching that right away and actually refunding you those clicks. So basically,
let's talk a little bit about that for a second, Adnan. Just I'm not sure that a lot of people know that. Like, so what Adnan is talking about here is, let's say your ad spend is $100 a day or $500 a day. It doesn't matter what it is. And, the thought in your head, oh, well, what if somebody searching for my ad or searching for something and clicking on my website every single day, wasting my budget? How many of you think that you could waste somebody's budget that way? Just raise your hand, say it's me. I think that, or at least I had that thought in my head that could be happening. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so 2-3 people. It is probably more, because in all honesty, I mean, anytime you're spending money on anything, it should be going through your head, hey, can somebody waste my budget? But what Adnan is talking about here is that Google actually has a preventative way of preventing clicks that are coming in from an illegitimate source, where they actually refund the money back for those clicks. So, and they do a fairly phenomenal job at that. So it's like, if I'm somebody who's searching for a different thing every time and I click on these ads, Google actually doesn't even bill, because they know I'm searching for all these different things. I'm not a legitimate user, so they actually refund that click back. even bot traffic, if bot traffic's click on your ads, they refund those clicks back because they have a fairly decent, good way of detecting that bot traffic. Okay. So continue, Adnan. Sorry.
Yeah, so Julia here has a question for you, but before we answer that, just wanted to mention one more thing, guys. So I know that you've been noticing lately that people are not picking up phones as much as they used to. And honestly, to be completely honest with you guys, I think the main issue here is there is a change of generations, guys. It's not old people buying homes only. It's new people. It's Generation Z buying homes. And those guys, they just don't prefer phone calls as much as older generations did. So those are I'm trying to say it's those are real leads. It's just that some things are changing.
Yeah, there's gonna be an aspect of it for sure as well, where if you look at there was a for those of you that probably know who Gary V is, Gary Vaynerchuk from Vaynerchuk Media. He did a presentation. This was a while back, where there was thousands of people in front of him, and he asked the question, how many of you hate when another human being calls you? Okay, how many of you hate when another human being calls you? And about 90% of the room stood up. Now, having said that, the room was full of younger individuals, but funny enough that most of those people hated when they get a phone call. So to Adnan's point, depending as the times are changing, I think reflecting on providing value to these people and just catching them and to being able to talk to them is going to change a little bit. Where use SMS, see if you can get them on WhatsApp if you have WhatsApp on your phone. Viber is not so used here. WhatsApp is used here, but see if you can shoot them a message in WhatsApp. That might be another way to connect, just so that you can connect with them in some way, shape, or form. So to point where the question for Julio. So we have this questionnaire that is on our website when a lead registers. And what that questionnaire currently does is it asks people about how often they want to get listings, asks them if they're pre-qualified for a mortgage, asks them a bunch of different questions. These are also points that we're feeding back to Google about the actual lead itself. So for example, let's talk about the psyche of an individual who is looking to buy a home and is ready to buy a home sooner rather than later, right? So let's say if I'm in the process of buying a home, and if I'm looking to buy a home in the next 3 to 6 months, right? That means I'm fairly close to buying a home. How often do you think I'm going to want to receive these listings? Let's get like maybe some answers in the chat. If I'm close to buying a home, how often do you think logically am I going to be willing to receive these listings? Daily, monthly, weekly? Daily. As soon as they hit the market, 100%. Now, somebody who is registering on a website and says and changes it from daily to monthly is a direct indication of somebody who is not interested, most likely, in buying a home very soon and is going to select that monthly. This is also data that we send back to Google. This is also data that we tell Google, hey, people who hit that daily and leave it on daily, that's a higher value lead for us. We want more leads like that. People that select monthly, we want less leads like that. But the nature of the internet lead generation game, guys, is that most of these leads that come in are at the very beginning stage of the buying process, right? So most of them are at the very beginning stage of the buying process. And very few are actually much closer. Okay. So my fear is that going to other sites will get more comfortable with listings from other agents. So what Julia's talking about is like when he gets a lead and the lead says email me once a month rather than email me once a day, he's saying, well, he wants the systems to send listings a lot more often than once a month. because he is worried that they're going to go somewhere else to another website and they're going to, start getting listings. To ease your mind, they're probably going to other websites. Like these internet leads, they go all over the websites. They are submitting their form on ton of websites. They're getting listings from a ton of people. What I can promise you is that websites that don't give them the ability to lower the frequency, especially to those that are much further away from buying, is the websites that they are setting the frequency to, well, not setting, but they're unregistering, they are unsubscribing, or they are marking you as spam. We see this. We see this in our logs. We see this in our system on an ongoing basis. So if a lead sets it to monthly, it's probably best to just keep it a monthly, and maybe shoot them an email to say that, hey, if anything changes, please let me know. I'll make sure I'll be the one to change it for you as well. They'll unsubscribe. Again, let's think about the psyche of the individual. If I am not very interested in buying a home right now, it just I went online, subscribed, I don't want to get a daily email. And if I do get a daily email, what you're doing to them as well by sending them that email every single day, what you're doing to them is telling them these emails don't matter. These emails are junk.
There are risks of them not subscribing.
100%. Unsubscribe 100%. And even in Google and all these other email providers, guys, they're smart about this. So let me paint a little bit of a different picture. Look at some of the emails that you guys currently get. If you're using Gmail, look at some of the emails that you guys currently get. And if you were to get an email every single day, and every single day you're just trashing that email or you're not even looking at it, what ends up happening after a little while is Google will automatically move that email over to a completely different inbox, which you never even look at. That's what's going to be happening with your leads that are not looking at these listings. Because again, if they're not interested in looking at it every day, they probably don't want to see your email every day. So, all right.
Ralph kind of has a question, but I'm not sure. Is there a heart button or another feature in AgentLocator that we can use to indicate a lead is good so that you would automatically get notified to send you an email?
Yeah, so Rafkan, the best thing to do right now is to more of change the pipeline, because the pipeline is the only thing that actually triggers to us to say, hey, send this data to Google to tell them this is a better lead. So the different pipelines we have, Crystal, are lead, try to contact, made contact.
Hot, warm, cold, cold, warm, hot, set meeting, appointment. Yeah. Okay. So there's a bunch if you move them there. Ones. And you do have a filter specifically right on your dashboard that says hot leads. So if you move their pipeline to hot, then you can easily just click that option. You see all your hot leads in that list.
Yeah. The more progress down the pipeline, the more value we send to Google, right? So if you set the lead to a showing, but again, remember that it's within within 90 days. Yes, it sucks for real estate. It sucks that we can't get a longer term, but 90 days is the maximum that Google will intake information about these leads. So if it's longer than 90 days, even if you change the pipeline to whatever, we do not send that data to Google, because even if we send it to Google, they do nothing with it. They just discard the information. Okay. What else do we have?
I believe Elena asked about the seller leads, if we have done any new development at AgentLocator. And we are working on some small changes, but seller leads in general are not, the seller ads are not performing as good as buyer ads, only because of the low search volume. Most people, when they're interested in selling their home, what they do is they Google for buyer keywords, because they are looking up the property they want to buy or the area they want to relocate to, what they can afford, and so on. So in most cases, you should be able to find potential sellers among your buyer leads, and the cost per click for seller keywords is much more expensive compared to buyers. So low search volume, high cost per click, really financially it doesn't really make sense to run seller leads. And if you do, the budgets have to be higher because of that low search volume, and we cannot target community on community level. It has to be a whole city and so on. But yeah, Elena, I don't know if you had
Yeah.
any other. Yeah, I don't. Sorry.
I wanted to elaborate on that a little bit as well. I mean, obviously, so when we talk about that low search volume, let's go back to the psyche of the individual. Who are these people that are searching online, and what are they searching for, right? So it's like when you think about the nature of a human, when they go through the process of thinking about buying or selling a home, they're not excited about, oh, how exciting is it going to be to sell our house? No, it's how exciting is it going to be to go live in that new area? How exciting is it going to be to go do, be in that whatever area they want to be. So, right. So that's what they're starting with. They're starting with the buying process rather than the selling process. So, and because of that, most of these leads that come in, they're not searching for, what's my home worth and what's the home value, or how to sell my home, or really seller related keywords. There's a lot more buyers that are searching for buying a home. And the downside is also, I've had questions from people, from agents, and saying, hey, well, I only want to target people who are not first time home buyers, right? You don't have the ability to do that. Like, for example, if I'm on Google searching for homes for sale in Mississauga, how do I know who's a first time home buyer and who isn't? Like, there is no way in Google we could say, don't show the ad to people that are first time home buyers, for example. So yeah, anyway, I think Elena got the point on that, because she also said thanks, Elena. So I didn't really need to elaborate on that, but anyway, but
No, I think Elena would just appreciate that I saw her message. But yeah, thanks, Otto. It was very helpful to share that. Another
yeah.
thing that we have gotten a lot lately when it comes to the tickets and clients reaching out is the Google coupon, the promotion. We've had a lot of clients coming back and say, hey, I met the amount that I was requested to spend within the first 60 days, but the coupon wasn't applied. So we've had a lot of those. And I know that when you guys sign up with us and our sales team goes through the different things that we have, one of the things we mentioned is that there is a possibility to get this coupon, but we never know for sure. First of all, this is a Google offer. This is completely owned by Google. They're the ones determining what kind of things you have to meet the requirements in order to get that coupon. So even though if you spend the required amount within the first 60 days, as they usually require, it has happened a lot of times that it hasn't been applied.
Can I just elaborate on that a little bit? Then just to kind of so the number one reason why Google doesn't give the credit for the account is because of a pre-existing account. So their credit is only for accounts that are brand new, meaning that you have never advertised with Google before and you've never had a Google account for Google Ads before. So what happens many times is, Google Ads has been around for many years, over 30 years, right? So some of you have signed up for an account in the past, maybe forgot about it, and we have another account now in the same name, and they basically don't let you create another account. Well, they'll let you create another account, but they won't give you a credit in that case. So
we have had a few clients actually, like, they swear to God they never had on a Google Ads account in the past. They never received promo code in the past. They've hit the ad spend, but they still didn't get it. But by the way, guys,
sorry, do we have the ability to then, if Google doesn't give a credit, do we have the ability to go through Google support and submit a case saying, hey, this individual has never had an account, can we have this checked into?
No, and literally, you just took a sentence out of my mouth. That was the next thing I was about to say. Unfortunately, there is no way to argue with Google. Like, you cannot submit a support ticket if they didn't find you eligible. That's it. Like, there is no one to reach out to. You can try sending an email to support, but just gonna cut you off real quick.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Do we have any other questions from our attendees here? Like anybody else have a question about PPC, maybe, the technicalities of it, in general, anything. I mean, I will talk a little bit to kind of end this, unless we have other questions, unless Adnan and Ethan have anything else to say. But like, I want to talk about in general about doing this type of advertising, doing Google ads in general, spending money to generate leads. If you don't have the budget, I mean, well, I want to talk about rental leads. I want to talk about how good they are, but it's also, I want to preface that by saying, when I look at BC doesn't have the luxury of being able to do rental leads. But in Ontario, which most of these people that are here are at, rental leads, if you don't have the money to spend on Google ads for buyer leads, so meaning that if you don't have $500 a month to spend on Google ads, do yourself a favor, because if you don't have the money, you have the time. If you don't have the money, you 100% have the time to spend working these rental leads, because you literally have the ability to generate $10,000 a month off of these rental leads in profit and then fund your buyer campaign. So again, if you don't have the money, spend that money on rental leads, because you are going to make it work. There's going to be a ton of work for you. So that's where you need the time. There's going to be a ton of work because you're going to get a lot of leads, and you're going to have to go through those leads to find the good ones, because you also shouldn't be going out with every single rental lead. You should obviously qualify to ensure that they have the ability to get a rental. Number one, there's an income. There is, there obviously, would somebody be willing to rent a property to them based on who they are? But do yourself a favor. If you don't have the money for the buyer leads, do the rental leads, get the leads in, and for anybody questioning, does this work or doesn't this work? Listen, I've been involved, and many people here have been involved with this for a very long time. We've been doing it for over 25 years, specifically for real estate. If this didn't work, nobody would be doing it. Nobody would be advertising Google. Google wouldn't be making money from any of this if this didn't work. So, if you have in your head that this is not going to work for you, from a lead perspective, it's not going to work immediately. You need a good number of leads for it to work. If you're converting at 1%, you are going to convert one lead out of 100 leads that come in. That means you're going to spend $1,700 on Google ads before you actually get that good lead that's going to convert with you. So while it doesn't work immediately, it works 1,000,000%. It's sometimes hard when you spend money, especially if you've never spent money on things before. It's hard to spend money and get a crap lead. Get Joe Schmo as a lead, and you're like, God damn, I just paid $20 for that guy. It sucks. Yes, it sucks, but that's the reality. Okay. Sabrina, I'm spending 150 per month. However, I'm only getting 46 leads per month. Is that normal?
I
That's
see
a very
8
low
leads
budget.
last month, Sabrina. You received actually 8 leads with an average cost per lead of $17.81, which is actually within the expectations given the budget. And the budget you have right now for your campaign is below what we would consider a healthy budget for a buyer campaign in your
So
market.
Sabrina, if you are in Ontario, do yourself a favor and get on rental leads. For $150 a month budget, you're going to get a lot more rental leads, and you could probably convert some of those renters into buyers as well.
Yeah, we
If
have
you
an
have,
internal. Sorry, I had to cut you off.
go ahead. No.
We have an internal saying here at Agent Locator that among the rental leads that you get, there are some uneducated buyers. So
For sure.
definitely you will be able to find some potential buyers, and especially if you have some connection with the mortgage agents, that could actually be very, very helpful.
And I do
Awesome.
have like a Google form link for those rental leads and a specific campaign that you can put them on, so that those, to help alleviate yourself from some of the work that goes into a rental lead. It's just a questionnaire, but also using Zapier, like feeding the information back and forth, so it allows you to focus on individuals that potentially are more worth your effort because they're putting effort into it. But also we show you how to look for the buyer leads sitting in those rental leads just based on where they're looking, how much they're looking at, and so on.
Yeah, and rental leads are a lot more willing to speak to other people, right? So they're just, that's the case. Okay, so two more questions here. Google ads are better or social media ads? And then Navita, okay, 16 in June. So again, we go back to that like $17 average. Like if you look at the last month or so of all the leads you've gotten, on average it's 17. In some cases, in some areas it's more expensive. Some areas have a higher cost per click. We don't dictate what your cost is going to be. The market really dictates what the cost is going to be, but that's kind of the average of what we've seen. We've actually, believe it or not, so this was a little while back. We got contacted by one of the regulators of real estate and giving us crap for selling leads for whatever we were saying. It was like $17 a lead. And we don't sell leads. We're not selling leads. We're actually literally doing it legally because we're not allowed to sell you guys leads. But what we're allowed to do is set up ads for you to generate your own leads. And because we came up with a number, they thought that we were selling those leads at that cost. But we don't sell the leads. We set up the ads.
I'm
now,
glad
this
you
is
mentioned
the question. Go ahead, Adnan.
No, just because I'm glad you mentioned it. It's actually one of the things I wanted to touch.
Yeah, we're not selling. We're just setting up your ads, and then we're doing the best we can with the websites and the ads to ensure that we get the lowest possible cost per lead for the type of lead that we get in. But this also now goes into Google Ads. Is Google Ads better or social media ads? So I want to answer this question by going back to that psyche of the individuals, right? So with search and social, we have two different things. So what do we have? With search, we have intent, meaning that I'm intending to search for a home for sale, or I'm intending to search for what it is that I'm looking to get. And social, we have curiosity, right? So on social, what do? We cast a wide net to a whole bunch of people and try to make that ad in such a way that gets people to respond back and submit their information, right? So when you have intent is generally better than curiosity, right? So intending that they're actually looking to search for a home. So hope that makes sense. I hope that answers your question from that perspective. I don't want to downplay social media in any way. It's wonderful. It does a great job of getting leads. It does a great job of complementing Google PPC as well. But if I had to pick one or the other because my budget was such that I need to pick one, I'd go with Google. And then again, if I was in real estate today, and if I'm starting out today, and if I don't have the money to spend all this stuff, I am doing rental leads all day long. I am making 20 grand a month on rental leads. I swear to you, if I don't make 20 grand a month in rental leads, you can do whatever you want. If you put that effort in, what's the cost per lead right now, and then in rental leads?
$2 to $5.
$2 to $5. Okay, so depending on the area, if you spent $1,000 a month on rental leads, obviously you're not going to spend $1,000 immediately. But if you're spending $1,000 and had a systemized process for going through these leads to find the good ones, and again, finding the good ones is simply the best thing to do with rental leads. Honestly, forms are great. Don't get me wrong, Crystal. I love the fact that we set up a form. Pick up the phone, call the person, talk to them. Ask the questions you need to ask to find out, is this a good person that I believe is going to be able to get a rental? If I don't believe this person is going to be able to get a rental based on the market yourself, don't take him out. Move on to the next one. And the nice thing with rental leads is the fact that you'll have the ability to pick and choose because there's so many of them. Speed to lead, the goal, even though people are less likely to answer their phone, and how many attempts do you call is too many? We're actually going to have a better answer for you there, Geoff, in a little bit. number of how many attempts does it take and how many calls does it take and how many times and what times of the day are better than others. So I don't have an answer for you, even though I think the general answer, when we look at the general statistics out there, Crystal, do you have an answer to Geoff's
To how
question?
many attempts is
How
too
many
many?
attempts? Yep.
I
Well,
would
how
I
many
would
attempts does it take for get a person to actually talk to you?
typically on average it's 6 to 8 if you're calling daily. Like that's an average. It's very uncommon that I see in anyone's system that they've got a lead and then a non-responsive because they've had 14 consecutive call attempts with no response. It happens very seldomly.
Yeah, so
So
it's all over the place. I mean, I've also seen like when you keep calling from the same phone number and switching that phone number. Like for example, you're using your built-in dialer to call, a switch to make a phone call from your cell phone, but don't call from your cell phone too often because the Twilio number is disposable, right? Twilio number we can change in a split second. Your cell phone number, which you probably had for a very long time, is not so disposable. So when you make a ton of phone calls from your cell phone number, believe it or not, there's a chance that your number starts showing up as spam when you call regular people. So I would avoid using your cell phone for all the dialing. I would use Twilio, and then every now and then use your cell phone to actually make a phone call to a lead that you haven't been able to reach. So I hope that makes a difference.
mhm.
Okay.
But
Unless, yeah, Crystal.
I
Sorry, go
know,
ahead.
Adnan, you had some comments about, or we had discussed that you with I guess the changes in the keywords. So in the comment request, whereas individuals, I guess questioning what keywords are going to be used and making suggestions on what they want to be using. Did you want to provide any insight on that as to what you're doing with respect to the ad creation and why some of the suggestions that perhaps AI, when people are doing their own research, why they may not be effective?
I 100%, guys. And it's actually, I just told Lina on the back end that I wanted to touch base at least a little bit, the LLMs, the AI, Chat GPT, and things like that. So we had a fairly good number of clients reaching out to us, with Chat GPT suggestions, asking us, "Hey guys, can you change this on my ads or that on my ads?" Some of the clients will say, "Hey guys, Chat GPT is recommending this." Some clients won't say that, but I can clearly see it's chat, LLM or AI generated response. Guys, please be careful with AI. Even though those are amazing tools, PPC is a very complex space. And if you don't know what you're doing, and if you just plain, listen to what ChatGPT is telling you, you will blow a lot of money and not get any leads, guaranteed. Like if you guys don't trust me, listen to ChatGPT, set up an ad, give it $10,000 and run it for a month, and trust me, you'll never touch it again. It's an amazing tool if you know what you're
Yeah.
doing. Like if you know how to prompt it, if you know what to ask it, it can actually give you some great input. But if you ask general
This is one of
questions,
those things that's I mean very very glad that you brought it up. And is it gonna get to a point where AI is gonna be run it? Maybe, possibly. Seeing how this thing is progressing, there's a good chance that it can. But as it stands right now, and you guys have seen this, in the progression of AI. Like Adnan said, unless you know what you're doing, your questions are not good enough to be able to run a proper campaign. And the best way to test it is to test it. So if you believe that your Google Ads, you have the ability to run it on your own. In all honesty, listen, we're a software company. We we would love for you to be able to set up your Google Ads on your own and run it to your website. So if any of you are doing it successfully, contact me. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be a great thing when it can do it. But at the moment, from what I've seen, and we use AI in a daily, on a very heavy perspective. Most of our development these days is actually done with AI. And development is one of those things that it's very binary. It's like it's either working or not working, and it's doing what it's doing. But with Google Ads, getting traffic is one thing, by getting leads to convert and then getting the way to set up the campaign to get those quality leads, it's a little bit harder. But the moment that this is going to be easy to set up, it's going to be a wonderful day, because number one, we're going to have the ability to concentrate our efforts towards other things and not having to worry about setting up campaigns. But at the moment, as we've seen, it really doesn't do a good enough job.
Well, it's a great question by Rafkan. Ethan, will you respond to that? It's actually something that you on a daily.
Let me see.
Oh,
Yes. About the recommendations, yes. So yeah, we actually have had some of the tickets where clients reach back to us and say, hey, Google is recommending these changes to my campaign. Can we, why didn't we apply it, or should we apply it? I really want to stress out that all the recommendations you see, they're not tailored for your campaign. They're very general suggestions that Google comes up with, and it shows like an optimization of your campaign. You have like an optimization score of the campaign. For example, one of the things that they would say is to increase your budget because you're missing out on some search volume. And yes, there are busy days where the search volume is higher, and Google says, hey, you missed on some possible clicks and leads. Let's increase your ad spend. But your budget is, let's say, $300 a month. Another suggestion can be use dynamic pictures. Well, we don't have the copyrights for those to be used. So this is a very general type of recommendation that is not tailored for real estate campaign, even less for your own campaign, for your target area, for your preferences. So that's very important that you guys have that in mind, that most of them we actually dismiss, and some of them we actually apply when the algorithm has learned enough. So we change the bidding strategy, for example. That's one of the recommendations that we do apply to your campaigns. Another can be
Well, there's a progress to that, though. So sorry to cut you off, then. There's a progress to how what you should set the campaign to begin with. So starting with number of impressions, and then later on converting it to a different type of bidding strategy. But it's a progression of things. You shouldn't be doing it immediately. And then if you Google my cost per lead increased after applying a automatic suggestion by Google, like there's thousands of people that are online talking about how their cost per lead just all of a sudden increased, even when they applied what Google was suggesting should be a change. So
some of those recommendations, they'll be flat out harmful for they're just not good for your campaign. Like it's just a general, it's just a general guideline for someone who knows what they're doing, right? Like for us PPC managers, we can see, hey, this could be applied, this absolutely not. And by the way, guys, just wanted to add, besides OptiScore and recommendations, I know most of you, or some of you at least, you might have been receiving emails from people, quote unquote, from Google, saying, hey guys, I can help you optimize your ads. You missed this, you missed that. Like those guys they're not really PPC managers. They're actually just sales. They work for Google to get you to spend more money. So please, don't jump the gun and start.
So to give you an idea, because I mean, a lot of those campaigns are running, a lot of the account managers that are contacting you, their initiative is that they increase the ad spend of those people that are on there, and which don't get me wrong, I think you should definitely increase the ad spend if it's making sense for you. If you're getting the leads and you're doing to qualify those leads and get those leads through, you should definitely increase the ad spend and spend more money. But again, applying some of those changes on a blind perspective is definitely not something you want to do, for sure. There was a question about two-step verification. So, we talk about how do we improve the quality of the leads, and can we improve the quality of the leads by actually forcing people to go through a two-step verification in order to use the website. So can we do it? 100% yes. Is it a good idea? 100% no. So two reasons. Number one reason, you're paying for that traffic already, meaning that they clicked and Google billed you for that click when they get to your website. So how we get that person to register on your website and whether we make them go through a two-phase verification before you get the lead in your CRM is going to increase your cost per lead dramatically, meaning that, and we actually did this a while back. I had a client, and I've been talking about this for a while because I think this was like 15 years ago that we did this test. We had a client that said, listen, I don't care about quantity. I don't give a darn about quantity. I care more about quality. And these are guys that have been spending a ton of money on lead generation for a very long time, and they've been generating leads for a long time. They're like, listen, I spend so much time on my team to qualify the leads and go through this entire process. What if we did a campaign where we had lead gen completely off, right? We turned off lead gen and let's let the people browse the listings. Let's let them go through, and then when they are good and ready, they can contact us. They spent $60,000 back then. This was 15 years ago. $60,000 on a campaign where there was zero lead conversion, meaning that we just let them register when they wanted to register. And then they compared from those leads that they got when they were doing lead generation and when they hit it off, how much money at the end of the day did they actually make from all those leads? And I can't remember the exact amount, but it was a much, 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 much higher amount when the lead generation was on, where they were forcing people to register, and then they weren't. Even taking into consideration the whole time they spent calling these leads, it was a lot better to make them register. This is the same thing as, for example, imagine you were doing an open house. There's two things I want to say here. Imagine you're doing an open house and your sign-in sheet is optional. How many people do you think are going to fill out that information if your sign-in sheet is optional? Not that many, right? Now, another thing, if you make them register, but what if you were saying to them, hey, before you can come into this house, I'm going to send you a text message. Make sure you're getting that text message before you can walk into my home. Doing the 2FA, right? It's going to make people leave because you're forcing them to go through that 2FA as well. So both ends are not so great. We found the middle ground, which is we're going to have to make them register, because if you're going to spend money in Google Leads, you're going to have to get them to register.
Find a good balance.
Find that good balance. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, one more thing, guys. Eden just reminded me. So I know I've reached out to, I'm pretty sure I reached out probably to every client in this chat here regarding Google Ads verification. I know a lot of clients are concerned about uploading or submitting government issued documents to Google. But guys, please, you have to understand that you are in a very regulated vertical. Like there's actually a lot of laws regulating real estate. Even with marketing, with digital marketing, there's so-called housing policy, and for Google, to create a safe environment for everyone, they have to verify that you are who you claim to be. And Google themselves are actually a massive company, and they are regulated by the governments all across the world. Google actually works with government. For example, in the United States, if I'm doing a verification for a USA client, they can even ask you for the last 4 digits of your social security number. And Google actually has that, they're connected to those databases. So they are also regulated by the governments across the world. So it's actually safe to upload those document photos, verify your account, and continue running ads.
Simply put, like, listen, if you're looking to advertise on Google, you have to provide this information. Google is at the point where it says, listen, if you don't give us this information, they're going to stop your account. Simple as that. They don't care. They're legally required by law to validate that your information is accurate and that you are who you say you are. That's basically what it is. So if you're being asked for this information, unfortunately, we have to spend and we have to give it to them. There's another question, and we're going to leave this as the last question for today. Should we increase ad spend like for summer and then reduce during the winter? So the best way to answer this question is when do you have the best time to be able to work the leads properly? So if you're generating a bunch of leads, but you don't have the time to work those leads properly, meaning you're not doing what you're supposed to do, what we're telling you to do, then no matter how much you're spending, you're probably wasting it. So I would say it's a great question, and I think you should definitely increase your budget during the time where you have the time to spend to diligently work on these leads, follow up with the leads, help them provide value, show value, And I'll end this with by saying this. When we look at all of these leads, know and understand that there's zero trust established when they register, meaning that they're submitting their form on a website. They have no idea who you are. They don't know how good you are. They don't even know, they know nothing about you. So the very best way to connect with these people is to show value. Show value. So how do you show value? How can I show value to some of these people? And the simple answer is look at what they're looking at. Like, think about this. Look at the listings they're looking at, and look at those listings that they're looking at multiple times. There's something about those listings that made them look at it multiple times. So what you should be doing is find something valuable to send them about the area, about the property itself. For example, you know homes better than anybody else does. You know the kitchen that they're looking at isn't actually renovated. It looks renovated, but you know it's painted. You know that it's been done a long time ago. It's not actually a fully remodeled kitchen. So maybe sending them a video saying, "Hey John, just wanted to give you a heads up. I know this kitchen looks brand new, but this actually is a much older kitchen because they just painted the cabinets. So I just wanted to let you know because I noticed you looked at the property a few times." That's a piece of value that could take you literally a few minutes because you're following your leads, but it's something that they may not know. And then in the back of their head, like, shit, like, this is phenomenal information that I probably didn't even think about. Or if it's an area, you know the areas well enough. If it's a building that you know has issues, if it's a building they're looking at that you know getting out of the parking lot in the morning is a disaster, things that are going to be valuable information. You could say, "Hey, I noticed that you were looking at properties in this building. I just wanted to give you some input about it." I mean, you don't have to go in a negative. You can also go in a positive. You can say something nice about the area that they're looking to buy. And hey, if you have kids, this area has this and this park that's amazing for kids. I just wanted to give you some information if you didn't know about the area, right? So I hope that makes sense. I hope that gives a bit of a different look at things, but this thing can be done in many different ways. So I'm going to leave it at that. It's 2:00 already. We've gone through a full hour. I want to thank all of you for being here. I'll maybe let you guys end since I'm horrible at starting. I'm horrible at ending too. So you guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for jumping on, and Adana and Addo for providing the valuable insight. There is going to be a recording that goes out tomorrow for anyone that did register on the Zoom link. So whether you're here or you didn't show up because you got busy, for those who are watching the replay, we do also have a little PDF that I'm going to attach to that as well, that goes down through just some insight that we talked about today, as well as current cost per leads and recommendations and so on. And if anyone needs any help with their systems and learning how to adjust pipelines and all that fun stuff, just reach out to support and request for training, and we'll get you guys all set up.
Thanks everybody for joining us today. It was lovely
Thank you, guys.
hearing from you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks everyone. See you again soon.
Amazing. Thanks everyone.
See you guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye
Take care.
everybody.